All right, guys, thanks for attending the call tonight. It's May 11th, and we're diving into the social media series for part 3. And this is going to be all about posting, and it's going to be about like Facebook and Instagram posting. Most of these tips can apply to both, although there are some things that I will point out that are a little more specific to one or the other. Just want to welcome some of the newer coaches. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know this is like a huge part of the business, and it's usually where we have the most questions. And just give a shout out to everybody. This month has been really amazing to watch people grow. Stephanie, you're blowing my mind. And Brittany, you're doing awesome. I feel like there's so much movement going on right now, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening. So just real quick, like to get everybody on the same page. Next Monday, Mixberry Energize is going to release. So that has been posted about some. Collagen, today's the last day of that sale. This month, all challenge packs are $20 off. So like the annual all access pack is $140, which is normally $160. The 10 rounds pack is still $160 because it was already $20 off. And then like 3-day refresh and all that other stuff that's normally $160 is down to $140 too. So that was a great month to check in with people, to invite people. I know some newer coaches are going to do some like free groups coming up. We have a like coaching happy hour on Wednesday night, basically like a girls' night in, trying to keep it a little more casual than some of the other like all day long events that we do. So if you have anybody that's interested in coaching, you can invite them to that. And Stacy posted about it today, I think, in the team page. And I think there's a team 3-day refresh coming up. We'll try to share some dates here because I know that everybody's kind of doing different stuff. Now that we've moved over to BOG groups, a lot of people are hosting their own groups, which is really cool. And if you're a coach, you can open your own group on there really easily. And it's something that like if you add customers, they can find you right away too. So you could basically start a group at any time. I basically just try to start like a group a month if I can, or a new theme a month, and then invite to it every single week without having all these concrete dates. But I know it helps people to get dates set in stone. So I think that's it for the team announcements. There is that Destin Leadership Retreat that Megan Ewelton, who's like our bigger coach, puts on. And basically, if you qualify for it, you get to go for free. You just have to pay your way there, and then you might go out to dinner one night and pay for it. But she pays for the house, the food. There's usually like somebody from corporate that comes in, and it's just a nice way to like get to know other people on our team. But it's also something cool to push for because it is just a really good opportunity. So she put out a like push group for that, and there's an application on our team page for it. It's going to be more like action driven. So if you are interested in trying to qualify for that, which there's different qualifications for like Diamond and Star Diamond, then you can just fill out that form and you will get added to the group. Stacy, did you raise a hand?
Yes, I did. I was just going to add, like, I know Sarah mentioned this to me before in the past when I knew, like, when my husband was deployed and it was really hard to get, like, a babysitter or somebody to watch my kids at the time, that I was like, I know I can't make this, but she was like, you still need to sign up for it. You still need to push for it because, and even with any Beachbody event that comes up or something, that if you still push for it, then you get that invite. And being able to, like, basically, it's like you are, oh gosh, I can't get the words, but it's a great thing to share that you have achieved that goal, but then also like it's something still you can show to other people, like when you're showing the parts of coaching and your stories and inviting to that also. So just don't pass this up because you know you can't make it. Like still try and push for it and still do the actions and still be part of it. Like it's going to benefit your business no matter what, if you're doing what they are pushing for or helping you with and stuff. That's it. Sorry.
No, you're good. I've just never seen a hand raised on here before.
I, I thought it would be like a nicer way than going like this, and if you weren't looking, or I don't know,
No, you're
or
good.
butt in.
All right. Well, I think that's it for announcement purposes. Sorry, that was a lot. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a presentation I put together like I have for the past couple weeks, and I'll share it in the team page after this, as well as any of the resources that I talk about, because I have a couple of like podcasts that I'm going to reference. And I got one resource that I used for this, so I'll share that in the team page as well. Let's see. All right. So we talked about story posting last week. And the reason why we started with that is because that's often an easier place to start, but also it's more instantaneous. People can actually see your stories more frequently throughout the day. It gives you a little more face time with people. That being said, still posting on your feed is a very important thing to do as well. You'll often reach different people with this, and you can get a little more in depth with story posting. With actually posting on your feed sometimes than you can with story posting. Of course, the video part of stories is much more personal, but actually posting on your page is what gives you like that storefront on Instagram when someone goes to your page to look at it, and the same thing on Facebook. So the goal of posting really, when it comes to any platform, whether it be stories or actual posts, is engagement. And I really like Jasmine Star. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of her. She has a podcast. She was a photographer, but now she's basically a teacher of how to use social media to increase engagement. Of course, she could teach you how to take beautiful photos, but she talks a little bit more about like actually engaging your audience. And the one assessment she had in one of the podcasts I'll tell you about is are you on social media, or are you really using social media? And she kind of separates the two this way. If you're on social media, you only post when you remember, you post for promotional purposes only, or your post might appear randomly. If you're actually using social media, you're going to be posting consistently. You value one-on-one connection with the people in your network, and you know when you are posting and you actually have a strategy behind it. And as I was listening to this, I honestly had a little bit of a like gut check, because I do post when it's convenient for me, and I do skip days when it's inconvenient. And it really just comes from lack of a plan, which I'll talk a little bit more about after I go through like these effective social media posting strategies. She has a really great podcast of how to create 30 days of content in a day, and I'm going to talk about that after this. But then she has another thing that I really like, where she talks about the keys to effective social media posts that foster engagement. There's basically 5 things she suggests, and I kind of twisted some to be in Beachbody terms. But 1 is showing your personality or sharing a personal experience. 2 is asking questions or asking for opinions. 3 is making an introduction, like about you. 4 is sharing a helpful or valuable piece of information. And then 5 is sharing a new product or program launch. And these are basically just like genres of posts, you know, like if you are trying to come up with a variety of things to talk about, you should be able to touch on most of these things in what you do. And I know we have this older group called Team Fearlessly Fit United New Coach Boot Camp, and we shared like 3 weeks of like post ideas in there, and a lot of this stuff is in there. And if you ever have heard of Ashley Shaw, she's a Beachbody coach actually, but she is not so active on the coaching side. She actually creates posting schedules with like full-on content for Beachbody coaches. And if you ever pay for any of her plans, it's going to be this type of variety of posting that you'll see, because these are the most effective types of posts on social media because they get the most engagement. So I'm just going to break them down for you a little bit. One type of posting is showing your personality or sharing a personal experience. So when you open up, people will respond to you big time. And it's like the more vulnerable you can be, the more engagement you're going to get, which is really uncomfortable for a lot of people. I totally acknowledge that. But there might be things that you think, you know, maybe that have kind of like been embedded down in you, or that are like old news that you don't really think about much, but kind of digging back through those things and seeing how they impact you now is really big. So you could talk about childhood experiences. That could be like people who influenced you in your life, something that happened to you as a kid that had a profound impact on you. 2, past struggles. People love to see past struggles because it gives them something to relate to, especially when you see on social media a lot of times that people just have like a highlight reel. The more real you can be, the more relatable you are. The next thing is hard things that have happened to you to make you who you are now, especially like, you know, in times like this, you know, sharing maybe how you're being impacted, or, you know, just like the real life stuff is what really resonates with people. Other things are business situations that make you grow. Like, you know, some really effective coaches out there take objections or take really crappy situations that happen to them and they put them right into a post. And it can address so many other things, like other people watching them that might have the same objections, or other people that might be fearful of opening up as a coach too. But seeing that sort of vulnerability makes people really like resonate with you more and see that they can do it too. Another way to do this is by showcasing your vulnerability, your strength, your resilience, any comebacks that you have. And the key with this is to make your followers feel like friends. And I don't mean that you have to share all the dirty, nasty stuff about your life. Like, we all have things that are off limits, but it's just stuff that, like, you know, when I talk about like how my dad passing away when I was a young person or teenager and like struggled after that, like that always resonates with people because a lot of people now have lost a parent. Or when I talk about like times in my life when I've gone through a lot and have been drinking too much, that seems to resonate with people a lot, like moms especially, who feel like they're relying on the wine a little too often, things like that. Or it could be stuff like, um, whatever your degree is in, like how you got out of school and got that, and maybe you didn't really click with that first job that was like your dream job. Stuff like that people can totally relate to because that's what so many of us go through. So one way to post, or one kind of topic of posting, is sharing your personality or sharing a personal experience. The next one is asking questions / asking for opinions. And we talked about this with stories too. People are on social media to be social and they want to participate, but they don't always know how. So you have to give them that platform to respond to you. And of course, we talked about in stories, the polls are really great. The question feature is really great. But on your post, you can also give questions or ways for them to give you their opinions about things to really increase engagement. And just a general rule, like the more comments you're getting on a post, the more Facebook or Instagram is going to show it to other people. So you can ask for recommendations on books to read, podcasts to listen to, restaurants or recipes to make, or restaurants to go to. If you're traveling somewhere new, you can ask for feedback on places you should visit there. Shows to watch on Netflix is really big. Baby must-haves if you're in that stage of life. If you're wedding planning and you want help with certain things there, like asking for feedback on that. Business-related questions. This one's really big, like in the Beachbody world, but I've seen other people do it. Like if you're going to a coaching event and you're like, which dress should I wear to this thing? Or which headshot should I use to, make a transformation on my business page or something like that. You could ask what program to do next. I wouldn't like blatantly say this program, so people don't get it, but like you're like, I'm really in the mood for something like fun and fast paced. And I found a couple options, like maybe kickboxing or like a HIIT workout. What kind of workouts do you love, or something like that? What next recipe you should share? Like, if you're having a week where you're making a lot of different food at home and you're sharing pictures, you can always say like, what recipe would you want to see next? And after you ask and receive responses, like one big key here is engage with your responders. Like if people are commenting on your post, you should be commenting back. And the more you comment back, the more they comment back, and the more Facebook or Instagram will show your posts. So just liking someone's response is often going to limit your engagement. And even if you go back like 2 days later and you respond to the people that have responded to your post, you'll see that post starts to recirculate again, because Instagram or Facebook with the algorithm says, oh, this post is hot again, or this post is popular again. We're going to show it to more people. So always respond to people that are, commenting on your post on Instagram. You could get some creepy or weird responses. I just give like a thumbs up or whatever to those, or I delete them if I think they're like, offensive. But responding and creating relationships through comments is really big. And it can help you start to grow relationships with people, or grow connections with people there too. The next thing is an introduction. And I would say you can't really do this post like, every week. But if your page grows, you're starting to see a lot of new followers, it's certainly something you can do like once a month. So it's a way to showcase who you are by letting your followers know things about you. And this came directly from Jasmine Star, but I've definitely seen the same things in like the Ashley Shaw posting, like packets or whatever that you could buy. But something like this, and I'm going to share this in the team page. You don't have to write it down, but it's like, hi friends, I've been on Instagram for a while now, but it's time to make a friendly introduction because I want to know you better and give you insight into my business. Or you could say, because I see a lot of new followers here. And you can say, most people or clients would describe me as like really driven and an excited entrepreneur. And my friends agree, but they might also say that I can be bossy sometimes too, or something like that. And you can say, I'm passionate about helping other women improve their lives with fitness and nutrition, because it allows me to, really dig deep with like maybe my gifts or my purpose in life. Most weekends you'll find me hiking and hanging out outside with my family, and on special days I might indulge in, it says like list of vice you might have, like something that's not terrible, but like a glass of champagne, or maybe a like stupid reality TV show or something like that. I look forward to getting to know you more, so leave a comment and let me know a little bit about you. It would make my day. You could do stuff like this, or you could like break it down like 5 things most people don't know about me, and you can share like really random facts, or you can share like, I saw Megan Ewaldson do this 2 days ago, like she shared how each of her children was born, like very weird situations, like late, early. This is like the situation we went through, C-section, whatever. Like, tell me your birth stories. Of course, people love that because they like talking about what happened to them in life. Just there's a lot of different ways to use this about you, and it doesn't have to just be like a straight up like, hey, you're new here, I just want to introduce myself. Sorry, I saw a comment. Let's see.
It
Do you
was me.
recommend hashtags for the post in the post or comments? I see people do it both ways and they seem to be pretty successful. I think like it would be my preference as like a reader to probably see it in a separate comment. Like if you go after and you add your hashtags in that way, but I don't really care. Like
I,
today I posted.
the reason why, like, I know the benefits of a hashtag, but then like I've done back and forth, but I didn't know what you've maybe heard or seen. And then because like it's automatically giving a new comment to your post fairly quickly, which I didn't know if like that would help in the algorithm too of your post showing. So that's why I was wondering about putting them in the comments.
Yeah, I mean the biggest problem I think like I have personally, and I'm sure a lot of people have this, is like taking the time to write out the hashtags after. So
Yeah.
adding like 3 or 4 into your actual post caption, of course, gets like extra visibility right away. Whereas if you forget, you just don't have anything.
Yeah.
One easy thing you could do is keep a set of like hashtags in your notepad on your phone, but you have to make sure you vary it up because if Instagram sees you using the same hashtags for every post, they will start to think you're like spamming the algorithm and they will stop showing your post to as many people and you might not even show up in those hashtags. So to me, the hashtag thing has been super consuming and I really haven't done a good job with it myself. And so it's like if I can throw 3 or 4 in right away, great. It's so rare that I go back and add them in after in a comment. But if you are very good and diligent about that, then I would say maybe you keep some on your phone that you can go in and like edit out or whatever and change them up frequently because, you know, if Instagram's going to ding you for that, then you don't want to be using the same ones constantly. And you want to make sure they're post specific too. Like if you're posting about family, they should be family specific. If you're posting about business, you could do like more business related. And you'll see there's so many, they're just hashtags that Beachbody coaches use that you might not even really want to go down like a huge hashtag tunnel, like my why or mompreneur or like building businesses and raising babies, stuff like that. Like I just feel like there's very like Beachbody MLM type hashtags that come to your mind because you think they're cute, but in reality, it's mostly Beachbody coaches or MLM type people using them. Like use cool ones for you. Like if you live in the Pacific Northwest, I just looked at you, Jessica, like put stuff like that in your hashtag. If you live in Savannah, like me, or outside of Savannah, like you can put like Savannah living, especially if it's like a post of somewhere cool where you're visiting. But I wouldn't worry so much about like, specific fitness related hashtags, whatever. Like do stuff more unique to you that separates you from that crowd. Um, yeah, I think that's like, it's a lot to go down. I think using hashtags in your stories is really great. Like Brittany tagged Under Armour via hashtag this week. And she's like, it's the most story views I've ever had. And I'm like, yeah, because you show up in that like hashtag stories and it gives you different kind of visibility. So there's other ways to use it too that can be really effective. All right. So the fourth type of post is a helpful or valuable piece of information. And I would probably do this like at least once a week as a coach. And it doesn't even have to be about fitness or nutrition. Like if there are things that are your strengths, I would say share this, like once a week. But sharing value is so key for your followers because people really like to learn. People are so curious about like if they're following you and they see you posting about things, you don't blatantly say what it is, they'll ask questions about that. Like those are the types of things that you can share info about or share like, like I just got a message right before. She's like, where are your little Huggy hoops from? And I'm like, okay, like a good post would be a couple of like bargain like jewelry places that I love or whatever, just because I get questions like that. Like it doesn't have to be workout related, but you can share recipes work really well. People love recipes, and you can post like a really good like picture of a recipe you make, and you can say like, comment below for me to send you the recipe rather than spelling it all out. And then you can start to message people the recipe in Messenger, and you can actually create some really good engagement on your page that way, and you can develop relationships with people that way. If you have like specific workouts that like, you know, if you like to create your own workouts, like I see Megan Eagleton do it. I'm not really somebody that's going to go put my own workout sequence together, but you know, like if I'm like making food, I'm happy to share that. Like that's more of my interest. But things that position you as an authority or an expert, or anything that like you're uniquely qualified to share about, I think is really great. You are actually, as a coach, uniquely qualified to share about aspects of your business. So do it. Like you'll find that you'll start learning things through, you know, like trying out a new product, or through a program, through what trainers say, or maybe by reading personal development. You know, like those are things that not everybody does on a daily basis. And so you resharing that information makes you an expert in your own right as well. So don't feel bad about sharing that stuff. And then, these posts really shouldn't be about sales, but about sharing helpful content to build trust with people. Like, you know, if they are based around things that you really like, or your hobbies, or your, you know, like creative passions, if you will, and you're sharing information about them and people are responding to that, chances are that person has an interest in that too. And you can really create a good relationship beyond that that has nothing to do with a sale. But who knows? I mean, it could turn into that. You know, often I find that like relationships start based on one thing, and sometimes they like, you know, develop because we become legit friends. Like I have a lot of legit Instagram friends I've never met, and we talk via stories constantly, and they'll eventually lead to that person being like, hey, I think I'm ready to talk to you about this group you have. But I don't ever really like push it. I just kind of, you know, talk to them about what our interests are. Then the last type of post is like a new product or program launch. I wouldn't do this every day. I would probably do this like, you know, when really special things are happening, like McSberry Energize. You know, you talk about your excitement around like your pre-workouts coming out in a new flavor. You can be the first person to try it out type thing. If you're doing a program that like a sneak peek workout has been available on BOD and you're going to try that out and share about it, you know, you kind of make the person who's like watching the post feel like they're getting a sneak peek or getting like an exclusive look into it. And then you can share it that way. And it can turn into like that person wanting more information about that thing, which is great. You can also post progress photos of you or people you're connected to. Like, you know, I'm doing this test group right now where I can't really share like anything about the program, but I can still share progress as I go. And I can share that it's for pre and postnatal moms. And like, hey, if you want to be, you know, kept informed about the program as it launches, drop your email or let me know and we can chat. And I can let them know what we have now for pre and postnatal moms. And then when it launches, they're already on my list of people to talk to. And then I said videos can be amazing here too, like, you know, just like workout clips. The behind the scenes stuff is a little bit harder to share on your actual like page with posts, but if you use IGTV and stuff like that, those could be other forums to share more content. So those are like the 5 like genres of posts. Of course, there's more stuff. Like some days you might just want to post a quote, or some days you might just want to post like, this is what's going on in my life, or like I'm having a really rough day and you just want to talk to people. Totally fine. There doesn't have to be an agenda behind everything. It's obviously your social media and it's there for you to be social. And so you can talk about what you want, but those like 5 that I just shared are really just about getting the most engagement or getting more engagement. And then in Beachbody land, you kind of need to have at least once a week a call to action. And a call to action is like an explicit invitation in your post, inviting someone to something based on what's on your monthly calendar. Like it could be a free group. It could be a 3-day cleanse. It could be a challenge group. It could be like our book club that we have going on now. Like whatever you want to host or run with this, you can totally do. That's the beauty of it. There have been times where I've run a devotional group. There's been times where I've run a group solely based on eating. You know, there's been, I haven't ever done like a running group. There's been all sorts of things that other coaches have done, and you can always invite to it. And I think at least once a week, you need some sort of call to action, and it keeps you on task, right? Like it keeps you knowing that you have a group coming up. You can constantly be inviting to something and you're not having like a lull in your business. But this is how you bring it home. I didn't put any of this in here, but like Gary Vaynerchuk has this book, and he's like a, you know, marketing social media expert, called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And the premise of the book is like, here's how you post for effectiveness. You have to give value, give value, give value, then ask for something. So his theory is in reality that like your posts, whether it be any of those genres I just talked about, are really doing something to enhance the other person's life. And then after you do that a couple times, now you're entitled to ask for something back. So the calls to action should really show up every couple of posts. And I put a sample here, like this is the most explicit call to action type post you could do. It does not have to be this explicit at all, but I have seen really with like coaches that develop big followings, it's like people look for these things because they don't always know that they're inviting to groups. And so you'll see like once every, every 2 weeks or so, there's really blatant call to action posts like this. And this was a coach who was in like a test group, but like the post just says, looking for 10 women who want to feel their best and lose up to 15 pounds or prepare for summer. This was before Transform 20 released. And it says, I'm looking for you over the next 6 weeks. If working out 6 days per week sounds totally doable, especially since you can do it from home. You want results that people spend 1.5 hours a day at the gym to get, I guess the 2 is missing. And you are looking to drop up to 15 pounds of body fat while toning and firming your booty, thighs, and tummy. I'm seeing my typos, sorry y'all. And then 20-minute workouts are no excuse way to tackle your goals and stay accountable leading up to summer. Sound like a perfect plan. If your intuition is going off and you want to see results before the summer, let's do this. Drop an emoji and let's chat. Like this might actually be a really good time for something like that because everybody feels crazy right now with their families at home and their schedules changed. And 20 minutes a day probably sounds perfect. So I feel like Transform 20 is a good program to use during this time. But something like that once a week, if you don't want to do it that blatant, no worries. You can say like, here's the progress I'm making, or, I'm feeling strong, etc. I'm looking for a couple ladies to do this with me. Drop an emoji below or, whatnot. And I'll talk about some different ways to ask for comments in a second. So this, I basically am condensing in one slide what took an hour and 15 minutes for Jasmine Star to share with, like, it was a free class she did like 2 weeks ago. I think Amanda might have done it, I'm not sure. But basically it was all about how to plan 30 days of content in a day. And I have to say personally, like total transparency, I'm terrible about this. I literally plan day of what I'm doing most of the time. But sometimes if I look at it a week in advance, I'll create content. She is doing like a whole month at a time. And if that's your style, great. It definitely gives you like consistency and probably makes it look a little more streamlined than what I do sometimes. But I just want you to know, like, this is like a really optimal way of doing it. You don't have to do it this way. But basically, she tells you, like, before the month even begins, that you start and you plan the month in advance. I like to do this on like a Sunday night and just look ahead to see what's coming. But number one, she says, to determine how many posts you will make in that month, or say in that week. She shoots for 30 a month because consistency breeds results. Honestly, I used to post every single day and I've gotten pretty slack over the past couple of months because I know that stories have taken over a little bit. But I would say like once a day, 30 or so a month is great because consistency does give you more results. And I've even noticed that over the past 2 weeks, just posting more myself. 2 is the next step would be, after you know how many you want to post a month, you look at the calendar and you see what specific days you can go ahead and create like a topic for. So Mother's Day, yesterday, for example, if you have a birthday or an anniversary or like, a personal event happening like vacation or something like that, you can have content specific topics for those days right in advance when you look at your calendar. Business events, also, you can look at the outset. Like every Thursday in Beachbodyland is payday. So if you wanted to post every Thursday about coaching, that's a great time to do it. You can also look at dates for product launches, and you can go ahead and schedule that in like the day before or the day of to give you content, or your dates like of groups posting, things like that. Like in general, I try every Sunday to post about coaching. And then like once during the week, I try to do an invite to a challenge group as well. So those would be things that you can plan at the outset and go ahead and write them into your calendar. And then she says, if you're looking for the rest of your topic fillers, you can think about your photo topics. So I put top 5 because like we always say, in our world, like what your bio says about you, like your top 5 things about you, that's kind of what your content should reflect. She actually says 9 to 12 because like if you go to Instagram and you look at somebody's profile right away, you see 9 photos. If you scroll up to where you can't see that person's profile photo anymore, you see 12. I think sometimes we have to kind of simplify things a little bit for ourselves. So I put like top 5, but like family, if that's one of your things, dogs, like if you're, just dog crazy, coffee, like, you'll see certain people that are just coffee fanatics, or maybe it's craft beer or wine, whatever. If one of those things really appeals to you, that can be one of your topics. Your job, working from home, any of your specific interests or passions, like that would be one of your top 5 too. And you can think about ways to sprinkle those in to some of the days. And then she also says, this is where it gets a little confusing, I think, but I think it kind of ties back into the most engaging types of posts. But she says choose like 9 to 12 caption categories right at the outset. Like you can do an about me once a month, or you can even do once a week. If you're kind of varying it up, you can do an encouragement post. Like, people used to always do Motivation Monday. If you wanted to do that once each week, your why, benefits, showcasing products or programs that you have. So you think about some different categories that you want to fill in from there, and you can pick some of those days to sprinkle into your calendar, and then you can take your photos. And she obviously is a photographer, so and I think her style is a little more like pre-planned photos, like a picture of a desk with like materials, like objects. I know in our world we tend to do a little bit more like face type photos, but I would say you can take a lot of photos in a day, or even like 30-minute span. If you get kind of dressed up, you feel good about yourself, and you want to change outfits once or twice, and you can just go around different places in your house and take a few different photos, and then make sure you're doing it in different areas that have good light, etc. And then you give yourself content for later in the month. And if you're on vacation, it's a great time to take a ton of photos to have for later in the month. If you are just out with your family and like everyone looks nice, which never happens to me, but you can take a lot of photos that day. Stuff like that just to have for later. And I know at times like this is not pre-programmed in our systems to take tons of pictures of ourselves, but I will say it does make your job easier down the road when you're like, it's a Monday and you haven't taken a photo all day and you've got like something you want to post about. So those are just some tips that you can kind of put in your bank, and you can say, I'm going to plan out some content for this month coming ahead. Maybe you just do 4 days a week, and maybe one day this week I'm going to do my intro, another day I'm going to talk about my family or like something I'm passionate about, then another day I'm going to add value, and then the next day I'm going to ask for people to join me. If you want to do that and set that as like your 4-day-a-week posting schedule at first, great. Like consistency to start with is going to be much more valuable for you than filling up a whole calendar with 30 days of posts. And I firmly believe like if you have nothing to say, don't feel like you have to post. Like posting at the end of the day at like 11 p.m. just to do it is not really going to get you anywhere. And I wanted to make some social media don'ts here, because I just feel like there are some things that people don't realize don't really go over that well because they're so used to doing it or they see it a lot. But I think dark or inconsistent photos, especially on Instagram, like it just, when people go to your page to see if they want to follow you, like seeing consistency, bright, pretty photos is huge. And every week I share about Adobe Lightroom, but to me that's like the best photo editing app you can have. It looks like a photographer style photo. Buying presets for like $10 and having that app is the best thing ever, especially for your family photos too. Like you don't even feel like you need to have like a professional photographer most of the time whenever you have that. Two, sharing stock photos unless they match your brand. So like Jasmine Star has this company that you can pay like every month, and you get all these stock photos from her with different caption ideas. That's great, but like if it doesn't really match you or your brand, I wouldn't use it. Like I looked at 5 free she was giving away today, and one was just like hello with a balloon. Like it doesn't match any of my page, I would never use it. Another one was just like a picture of a notepad and a pen. That doesn't match me, so I wouldn't use it. But if it matches you, go for it. Reposting posts from sites multiple times a day on Facebook. This is like a huge way to decrease engagement that you get, because people just look at your like post as kind of noise sometimes. So I would say make sure like if you're going to repost something from another site that it be really important to you, or be really funny, or maybe it's something that's like really engaging. Otherwise, like let that site do its thing. Using Beachbody stock photos for programs or products, I would not do this ever. Like maybe in your stories when you're sharing about like challenge pack options, totally fine. But on your actual page, like if you're doing that, it's a detractor right away, and you'll see your engagement with those posts does not go far fast at all. Posting random quotes. I think posting quotes is great, but the best thing you can do with this is put them in your own background that you want to use consistency. And you can even add in like a small little emblem with your like Instagram name on there. So I just put that Sarah Cronin Wellness Coach as an example. But like if you go into WordSwag and you see they have a bunch of stock photos in there, like maybe it's black and white is your thing, or maybe it's glitter and pink is your thing, whatever. And you create some sort of consistency through your Instagram page with that, great. But like just posting a bunch of random different quotes oftentimes is kind of it's distracting, I think, and it doesn't always get you as far. But if you personalize it, you put that quote that you found that you love on your own preferred background, and you put your little hashtag at the bottom, so if it gets reshared or whatever, people know it came from your page, then that's perfect and that's great, and it's something that you could do consistently, and your little grid will look prettier for that. So I would suggest that. I don't, which I'm really bad about this, is post and then get off social media. So if you stay on social media after you post and you start engaging with people, your posts actually get greater engagement. So I know that I always talk about like making scary posts, like I just shut my computer and run. And I still do it, but if I stayed on my computer and I started responding and engaging right away, the post would get so much more traction. So just keep that in mind for yourself. Like if you're responding to comments on that post, if you are even like going to other people's pages and showing them love, it gets your post greater engagement as well. And then I said, don't post the same content as your teammates with the same audience. So it's totally fine to take what other people are posting. And if it's a really great post, say, can I use it? And then say yes. But if they did it like yesterday and you're doing it today and you guys share the same audience, like it does everyone a disservice. It doesn't, really help with authenticity, and it doesn't help with engagement. So I would say if you're going to do that, wait a couple days, wait a week or more, then use it, or just take it and make it your own. That's the perfect way to do it. And then the last thing is like I put use posts like Ashley Shaw's without putting your spin on it. I love Ashley Shaw. Like, I think she creates these plans for like $30-$40 a month, and you can get 30 free posts for yourself. But not every one of those posts is going to be true to you. And taking them and just putting them on your page without actually adding in your words or your language or your story, it doesn't really get as much traction. So you're kind of paying for something that you don't necessarily get the full benefit of. So if you're going to do something like her post, then I would suggest you really put some thought into changing it up to make it more you. Okay, this is one of the last things. Sorry, I told you this is a lot of content. This came from like a 15-minute podcast from Jasmine Star that I'll share with you guys too. It's just really like effective to the point, but she did this short episode about how to write scroll stopping captions, because of course, like having the pretty photo is great, having the right content is good, but like the first line even of what you say and then how you ask for a call to action, if you will, is going to be super important. So she has this method called HIC, and it's hook, insights, and then call to action. So the hook is the way she suggests you start each post. And one way, well, she gives like basically 3 different ways here where you can do it. One way is to identify a specific audience. So she said, like if you're a photographer and you're trying to get brides, so you're calling out brides in the beginning of your post. Like if you are a mom or a new mom and you're looking for other new moms to join your group, like new moms, like, can you relate? You have to figure out who you're talking to first, and then you can identify them in the first line, and then it will stop those people when they're scrolling, and they'll read the rest of your post. Number 2 is a juicy share, so you can start the post with, can I share a secret with you? I've never admitted this before. People eat that up. So true. And I think that like, if you're going to make a vulnerable post, sharing it in that way is very effective. I just did it tonight on my feed because I realized it was my 5-year coaching anniversary. 3, you can start the post with an engaging question. She says, keep it short and sweet, and that quizzes work really well. And I noticed with Ashley Shaw's like prepaid posts, a lot of stuff she did was like, are you an A, B, C, or D type person? And those are really cool because people love to tell you about themselves. And so, starting it in some way that like, what kind of like gym goer are you, or what kind of workout person are you, or what kind of mom are you, stuff like that. And you can give like an A, B, C, or D and get to know your audience a little bit better. The second part to the scroll stopping caption is insights. And this is a way to connect and reach your ideal customer. And it's basically like probably the meat of your post, but she says there are a few different questions you should ask yourself to know if you're doing this in an effective way. Ask yourself, 1, am I giving people a reason or a way to respond? So I think like just sharing what we do and not putting any sort of like, if you'd like to join me, or my next group is this, X, whatever. People don't really know how to respond, and they don't know that they're invited. So I think having that as like, a question front and center is really important. 2, does it explain who I am or what I do? So, like giving value is great, but if they don't know why you're giving them that value, it isn't always as effective. 3, would my dream customer find it interesting? So these are some things that you can ask yourself when you're making the post to know whether your captions are effective or not. Like, being thorough, being very to the point, but also being open and letting them know they have a way to work with you or reach you. Then 3, call to action. She said, never post a valuable caption without giving your audience a way to act further. And these are some ways you can do it. 1, double tap if you agree, or double tap if you want more info. That can be a little hard because then you go start conversations on our end and we're like, I saw you liked my post. Are you interested? And people are like, huh? I just liked your picture. But, double tap if you agree is great. Like if you're talking about something that, you think would connect with your audience over. 2, tell me more about like, if you've experienced this before, or tell me what you're struggling with right now, or tell me, if you've been in that similar situation. It depends on what you talked about. 3, send a DM to learn more. I don't usually use that one myself because I feel like most people don't DM you, but I do use the next one, drop an emoji below if, all the time. And then people know exactly what to do if they want to get more info from you or if they want to be responsive to your post. 5 is tag a friend who. That one's really great if you're doing something like inspirational or motivational or like want to lift somebody up type thing. And then 6 is want to learn more. And then check out my bio and comments if you agree. Like that goes back to that Linktree conversation we had in the very first call. Like if you have your Linktree set up and it has a way for people to respond to like a Google form to join you, you can always say, want to learn more, check out my my Google form in the comments if you agree, or if you do, or you can say like fill out my application in my bio to learn more. Those are some really effective ways to get people to take action. So these are kind of 3 things to keep in mind when you're writing your captions. And I think now, I don't know if you guys see this, but on Instagram especially, like Instagram will only show you the first sentence of a post half the time. So you have to make sure that first sentence stops people right away and makes them click more. And when they click more, that helps your engagement on the feed as well. So there's a lot more pressure to make sure what you're saying is the right thing. And I think that's hard, but also it might help you be a little more concise or be a little more captivating right away without like going on, about things that maybe don't capture people's attention as much. And last but not least, I always try to share this when I can, but I put some inspiration accounts if you want to follow, like people I think kind of do some of these things well. Megan, she's like my coach's coach, but everybody in between us is inactive now, so I kind of just lean on her a lot. But if you look at her posts, I mean, one, she posts a ton of dancing videos, so if dancing's not your thing, I'm not putting that here for that, but she will put often like tap if you agree, or she does some sponsored type posts where she'll say like tag a friend, and those things help increase engagement a lot, and she often gets hundreds of comments on her post. I put Angie Belmar next. She's been like one of the top female coaches in Canada a lot. She has really pretty pictures a lot, but she also gets great engagement about things because she's very, very specific about her people. Like clearly she's into puppies. She likes Disney, which I don't know if you can even see that there. She loves the color pink and like traveling, and she's very effective in her posts with like reaching her audience. And then now she's got a YouTube channel, and look, clearly she's like, promoting it very heavily. So a lot of her posts direct you to her YouTube channel, which on YouTube you get paid per view after you get a certain amount of followers. My guess is that's where she's making her money these days versus all Beachbody related. But it's kind of like just a different way to see how somebody directs their engagement on their page. I put Ashley Laughlin. She actually is a Beachbody coach as well, but she is kind of like marketing herself more as a teacher to other coaches and influencers now. So that the like 5, I think it was Get It, like share I gave last week on Instagram stories, that came from her actually, and she is enrolling people in her Influencer Prep Academy to learn more about posting on social media and getting sponsored. But because of that, I think she makes really good posts where she gives you great calls to action, and she's very specific about what she wants you to do. Like you don't see as many challenge group coaching posts from her. It's more geared towards this like business venture she has now, but she gives like good stories, good value, like directed towards that side of her business. This is Jasmine Star, who I was talking about. I put her because clearly she's sharing all these tips. She knows how to post captivating posts and interesting content, and just like stuff that stops your scroll. And then the last person I put here is Kendra Hall. She wrote this book called Stories That Stick that we did a book club for last year. And in her book, she talks about the power of sharing stories in your posts as a way to engage audiences, or as a way to it's not just posts, like in sales and life, etc., to ask for what you want and to captivate more people. And I think she, in her post caption, she doesn't always put calls to action or anything, but she shares a lot of great stories, and I think stories honestly get people to stop their scroll a lot too. So I put her here for you guys too if you want to check her out. That was a lot. Sorry. I tried to fit a ton of content in there, and I knew this would be the longest one. And I'm sure there are still questions. So if you guys have questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
I don't have a question, but I was going to say, when you were talking about recipes, I've been sharing in my stories every single meal for Ultimate Reset, which some people probably think is annoying, but it's like accountability for me, because I know now people are looking to see what day I'm on. And if I don't do it, they'll be like, oh, did she not finish it? But I've gotten so many messages about the recipes I'm using, like asking me for the recipes for the foods, for the meals. So I agree that that's definitely a good way to get engagement.
Yeah, and I would take the ones that you get asked the most questions about, and I would make a post for it, and I would talk about my progress so far, and I'd say, like, this is one of my favorite recipes, and I wouldn't even share the full recipe. I would just say, like, DM me if you want the recipe for this, and I'll send it to you. And then you've got people right away that you know are interested in, like, bettering their nutrition, you know?
Yeah.
And I was telling Jennifer last night, like, when you're doing something really hard, like the Ultimate Reset, it's sometimes hard to invite to it. You're like, I don't know that anybody would willingly do this. Like, it took me this many years to commit to it myself. But I was like, it's the perfect time to constantly invite to a 3-day refresh while you're doing it. And you could say, like, a lot of these recipes are featured in a 3-day refresh too. It's just like simpler option. I'm going to run this group in 2 weeks, whatever. And you can make like a good post on your page about that as well. Like, I'm in this, 21-day intense reset. I'm going to host a 3-day one to give people a peek into what I'm doing on this day. Is anybody interested in joining me type thing?
Hey, if this is totally off subject, but if for those that know or want to, if y'all will say a prayer for Destiny, her grandma's not making it right now at all and has like 2 days or less right now. So just
prayers, Mama. She's here, right?
No, she's not on. I don't think so.
No,
Oh, she is.
Was on.
Yeah.
She is. She popped on after I've scrolled through. Amanda's even on now too. So
yeah.
Sorry, but yeah.
And now, Sarah, as far as like transformation pictures, like how often would you post like a transformation, like Tuesday thing, for example? Would you do one like every week, and does that, because I get a lot of feedback from that. I mean, a lot of people like and comment and will private message me, what are you doing? And I need to hop on that train. I need to do this.
Yep.
What is your view and opinion on that?
Well, my thought is if people can see like 12 photos or 9 photos on your page when they go to it, you should have a transformation pic that shows up for every time somebody would come to your page. So every 9 posts or so. It doesn't have to be that frequent. It can be more frequent. But I mean, in reality, I hate to say it, I market more towards Instagram than Facebook. And Instagram's much more visual. So like if your top 5 things about you are going to be in your bio, like you should probably see one on your 9 squares of your Instagram. And if one is like, your journey, which is, a huge part of your life right now and a huge part of where you've been over the past couple of years, like that should show up probably every 9 posts or so as well.
Okay.
Like Stacy asked me the other day, she's like, I really like to share about my pets. Should I create a page for them? And I was like, I mean, if you get, well, one, it's like a pain to create a whole other page and then start trying to market another page and then go add to that following, stuff like that. But I'm like, if you're that into your pets, they should just be a part of your like every 9 posts, really, and that should be part of your bio. Like, I know, like, I have 2 dogs that I rarely post about the best person, but like Megan Evilton has her husky and she posts about that damn husky like every day in the stories. But then it's like husky mom, and like everybody that has a husky is, they feel connected, right? Because of that. Like we have a cockapoo, and I guess like he would be one I could probably connect more with smaller, like people with smaller followings over. But I think like if that's something that you like to share about, I think it makes you excited to share about it. Make it one of your top things and don't feel like you have to go start a whole other page for it too.
I have a very specific question about like the presets. I downloaded the Lightroom app and like I bought like a set of presets, but then I didn't see them like automatically go into the app. So I was like, how do I get it? And then I watched like a YouTube video on like how to get it in there, and it seemed really complicated. I would think I left even more confused. Does anyone have tips on that?
Yeah, so like the presets save as like either blank photos on your phone or as like some stock photo with the preset overlay, and you literally have to upload them into Lightroom, and then you have to copy the settings from that thing onto your next photo every time. And so the first set of presets I ever got were from Alexa Jean, and like on your, I think you couldn't do it on your phone, you could only do it on your computer, and they looked blank. But then when I put them into Lightroom, it actually showed up as a picture. And then the second set of presets I got were on Etsy, and they looked like I could do it all on my phone, and you could see the picture right away, and it was a lot simpler. So every person, I think, does it slightly different, but I would say it probably is like you have to upload that actual file first into Lightroom, and then you have to copy the settings from that file onto any photos you want to apply it to.
Okay.
The good thing is like after you apply it to one of your photos that like, you know, you just took like a week ago, you could always go back to that photo and copy the settings then and keep applying it forward. So you don't always have to go back to that weird preset file.
Okay. Thank you.
And there are some presets built right into Lightroom, but it's only like 5, and they're not really the best. So I would say like, you know, invest in some. I don't mean it like Etsy has really cheap ones. I've seen free ones on Google, but I just don't know how good they are. And the other thing, like if you don't necessarily want to invest in presets, you know, you can use different areas of light within your house or outside. You just have to find them at the right times, which is kind of confusing. The last thing you could do is like they sell cases for your phone that have like a light around the outside to where when you take photos, although selfie mode is never really as good of quality as like the back camera, but they have some that have like the light built right into the case. And then they also sell for really cheap on Amazon the tripods that have like the light ring on them. Like they're super expensive ones, but you can get by with like a pretty cheap one, or even like a little round one that you can attach to your phone for photos. I think presets are easier in the long run, but you know, I know some people prefer like the tripod approach. Amber's looking all skinny down there. See you, girl. Does anybody else have any questions? I know like something might come up later. What I plan to do is share the presentation in the team page, and then I'll put a little link to the 2 podcast episodes I referenced. She's just really good like for quick content and answering questions really efficiently. So if you are using podcasts at all, you can find episodes that appeal to you from her. I don't really think I listen to that many other people for social media type tips. Of course, there's old episodes of National Wake Up Call from Beachbody that have like social media topics that you can go back and listen to. And then I'll share the little freemium I got from Jasmine Star because I downloaded it today from just putting my email address into her site. All right, y'all. Well, let's take a photo now that I actually remembered. I'm the worst. Ready? Say cheese. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Well, thanks for coming. Next week, we'll talk about growing your network. So I'll talk a little bit about hashtags and stuff then, and then like, you know, following and unfollowing and all that stuff. And if you have any specific questions about that you want to be addressed, you can tell me in advance too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Monday, guys. Bye.
Bye.